tally shirt.
Oh, snap. It's 420. You know what that means. It's time for the Shacknews 25th anniversary panel on this, the first day of E5. And what a glorious day it has
Should
been.
we have waited till 425 to go live?
Do over.
You know what? Cancel it. Let's just
You
start
know
over.
what that means.
You know
Start
what
the
that
whole day of streams over.
Day one of E5.
Let me just Superman this shit really quick.
Let's start over with Stern Pinball and then Arcade 1-Up. Let's just go back to the beginning of the day.
Okay. No.
Okay, fine. Well,
we can
well
just
done.
sit here for 5 minutes and contemplate.
It's okay. We can fix all this in post.
Yeah, that's right. Let's fix this in post.
It's 425. You know what that means. That's right. It's time for the Shacknews 25th anniversary E5 panel. I'm Blake Morse, co-editor-in-chief at Shacknews.com. And we have a veritable cornucopia, a who's who of Shacknews alumni here today.
No one's really alumni.
I am.
What?
Well, we're still here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're still here.
I was an alumni from my first tenure.
Yeah, I mean, like Ozzie
too.
and you like left and came back,
Yeah.
but like alumni implies that they like graduated.
Well,
I graduated for a minute, which is funny because I think today is the day that Yahoo Esports went under. So happy anniversary.
Rip.
Well,
Ozzie, happy anniversary.
What a weird anniversary.
Well, at any rate, why don't we introduce everyone?
Shack staff. There's words mean things.
We're gonna
Shack
start
staff.
off.
There you go.
I like to just start off in the top left corner for all this stuff, and who happens to be there, but none other than the one and only Shacknews Luminary himself, Asif Khan.
What's up?
All right, Asif. You when was the first time you logged into Shacknews.com?
Well, logged in.
I don't know. I want to know
Or,
when
you
you
know,
became a worker.
Yeah.
Logged on. How about logged on? Back when that was the thing, you log on to sites on the web.
I would say 96 on IRC.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the place to go to find Quake World servers.
Yep.
And then kind of as Steve pivoted the site from Quake Holio to Sugar Shack to Shacknews, and then Chatty was born. Chatty became this place to find Quake World servers, and it also became a place to see what people were doing at QuakeCon.
Mm-hmm.
So when QuakeCon became a thing, Shacknews was like the place I would go to like read about the exploits of Shackers at QuakeCon.
Nice.
And, they would always post videos or pictures, or there's a lot of Shacknews
Living
going on.
vicariously through them.
Yeah, because I was couldn't afford to go, wasn't allowed to go, all sorts of things. No. They're like gamers, Texas, no.
Computers,
Summer, no. Just
Doom,
no. Yeah.
Quake,
Yeah,
Satanism.
Yeah, none of it.
Yeah.
It was a way to live vicariously through Steve, Martin, a lot of those folks that were going there every year. Dognose, Trombley. There's a lot of people that went down to those original QuakeCons. So I'd say that's when I started. Blake was early on. I wouldn't necessarily say I had a Shacknews account on day one or anything, but I definitely had a Shacknews account, and I would read the Chatty quite a bit.
Been visiting since year one, basically.
Basically, I took a break, probably around 02, 03, as Quake 3 was kind of fading away.
Mm-hmm.
It really was a site I went to for Quake.
Yeah.
So as Quake became less relevant, it became less relevant to me.
Yeah.
And I kind of my own gaming habits moved away from PC towards console during that time period, because Halo 2 was out, and I think it was around then. Halo 2 kind of became my FPS of choice, and that wasn't really that popular on Shack at the time,
to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of left. I was also in college, so it just was less interesting to me. And then on top of that, I also had started working in the video games industry, so I was writing for other websites. So I was like, I kind of just started my own games journalism career and was writing for TendoBox.com and Cloud Chaser Media, and we were literally a Nintendo site. So my PC gaming habits kind of dwindled as I got more review units for Nintendo stuff. Yeah, you know, it was N64, Game Boy Advance, and then GameCube. Like that was that era. So yeah, I would say early mid 2000s, I kind of fell off the site, and then in the late days of 2013, I got a call that said, "Hey, you want to buy Shacknews?" And I was like, "Shacknews is still around?" Yeah, it was definitely like a member-berry thing. It was definitely that Obi-Wan Kenobi meme where he's like, "That's a name I haven't heard." Yeah. And then we bought Shacknews, and it's been smooth sailing ever since.
Excellent.
Off into the sunset.
David L. Craddock, long reads editor, currently petting the CEO of Shacknews, Lola the Palm. Hello, Lola.
Our policies on touching and petting are pretty lax here.
Yeah. This is why Lola does not employ an HR department.
Yeah.
It's because she likes to walk around naked and not force, I don't know. Compel?
Well, she's kind of a hippie.
She farts on people.
She's super hairy. But it's, she sets the tone here, I guess. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Lola, you've been CEO now for, what, 5 months?
5 months. She's handling it well.
Yeah, traffic hasn't been great. I'm just kidding, Lola. You're doing your best.
Yeah, I started, I think I discovered Shacknews in 2002 or 3. Around the time when Jason Bergman was the editor of a column called Late Night Counseling. Because also, you probably remember this, but during the day, the updates consisted of like maybe 3 posts, 2 lines apiece from Steve or Martin, like, here's a Quake patch, here's the link on File Shack, you can download it. And then there was a comment thread. Yes. And all they would really do was refresh
first post
and evening reading.
Yeah.
But the Late Night Counseling column, because this was a very PC-focused gaming site at the time, was just kind of a wrap-up of links to news from other sites.
Yeah.
Jason would say, here, GameSpot did this interview, IGN posted this preview, and he would just link to it. Maybe he'd editorialize a bit, like, here are my thoughts on this. But then Jason left because he entered the games industry, where he still works now. And the Late Night Counseling position was open. And I'd been writing pro bono in college. I was kind of slumming between computer science, because I'd been programming since I was like 10, and English as a break from programming. And so I applied, and I got an interview with Steve, and I answered, and he's like, hey, I'm Steve Gibson, and I'm going to interview you for Shacknews, so I guess I should ask you some questions. I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, I don't really know how to do these, so let's see. Do you know who Shigeru Miyamoto is? I was like, created Mario, Donkey Kong Zelda. He's like, yeah, cool, that's good. Let's see, I have a few others here. So he was just asking me about designers. And he eventually got to, who is Tsunobu Itagaki? And I blanked, creator of Ninja Gaiden, DOA. And it came down to me and one other guy. His name was Alec, I think. Alec or Alex, but I think Alec. And Alec got the job. And Steve emailed to let me know. But then after a year, Alec left. It came down to me and Chris Remo. And Steve recycled his questions, so I got the Itagaki question correct. And Chris got the job again, which was the better choice, really, at the time. But Steve and Martin said, we like your writing, so we're going to bring you on. And I stayed on for, I think that was September 2005 through 2007, when he actually fired me. Because at the time, he said, the best advice I can give you is don't mistake quantity for quality. And I took that to heart. I was a very slow learner. I still need a long time to absorb things. I need to do things for a long time. But I took the advice to heart. I hit the freelance circuit hard, started building up a big roster of clients. I did some writing for EA. I actually did writing in game development. And that time is when my book started taking off. So obviously I'd gotten a lot better. And then I saw Ozzie. I had actually talked to Ozzie. I contacted him to promote Stay Well and Listen to see if he was interested. And then I heard Ozzie was leaving, which kind of blew my mind because Ozzie, I'd been listening to you for a few years at that time on Weekend Confirmed. I'd been reading your previews. And I emailed Ozzie, and I'm like, if you guys are looking for an editor, I'm looking for some steady writing. And Ozzie said, yeah, I'll let the I don't remember if he said Asif or the new editor-in-chief or CEO. No, but
I don't think I had met Asif at this point.
I don't know if you had. I don't know. Because Steve Watts was the editor-in-chief.
That was 2014. Or
this was 2016.
Okay.
Because I started on April 1st, 2016.
We had met Ozzie.
So then I had met Asif at that point.
Yeah, we had met at GDC before then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I interviewed over the phone with you and with Steve. And I remember Steve barely got a word in because you and I were just talking about Nintendo.
We were talking about Nintendo in Swenson.
In Canton, Ohio.
Canton.
I was like, you were born in Canton? What?
At the time, I was living in Southern California.
Yeah.
And we randomly are interviewing someone from my hometown. And it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I came on as a news editor for like the first year, and then Steve and Asif started having me do. We called them Shacknews Selects at the time, which was a very controversial.
It sounded like the McLean Deluxe.
Yeah, like the Shacknews Select this evening is a 12-page feature on Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
medium rare. I got promoted to long reads editor in 2017. And now I'm kind of more of an editor at large. I'm kind of here and there, but still long reads editor technically. And it's Shacknews is very near and dear to me. It's really, I'm not on the internet that much, really. Shack is the only community where I've ever hung my hat. And so it's really cool to work with Ozzie, because now when I want to bug him to promote a book, I know track him down. And Blake and Greg and now Skankor. I haven't really gotten to work with you yet, Skankor, but it's really cool to be it's coming full circle. Coming back 5 years ago was full circle. And it's still really fun to be here.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. Greg Burke, how do you feel about that? And tell us where do you start with Shacknews here?
It's funny. So I remember before the Hub days, there were the Gamer Live days, and got a call from John one day just saying, hey, we just bought a website, and you're going to be in charge of the video for it. Just heads up. And I was like, oh, what's this site? And he's like, oh, it's Shacknews. He's like, in fact, there'll be a couple riders to the event you're going to tonight. I was heading to LA to go to like a Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls like launch event or like a preview event or something. And and that's when I first met Ozzie, I believe, who is super awesome. And then
Ozzie's like the linchpin here, man.
Yeah. And then I met Ozzie there, and he was super nice. And then I also met Andrew Yoon there. He didn't like me very much.
That sounds like Andrew.
Well,
Andrew had an acquired taste for a lot of people.
The lasting impression, right? And I said, "Oh, hi, Andrew. I guess you're one of the writers. I'm Greg. I'm going to be head of your video department." And I went to shake my hand, and he looked at my hand, looked at me, and just walked away. It's like, okay. Ozzie was much nicer.
It was, I think, a little weird for the people who were held over from Gamefly to GamerHub, because a lot of them were Gamefly employees, not Shacknews employees, so they got fired basically because they didn't own Shacknews anymore.
Yeah.
So there was this weird time period where everyone was kind of on severance from Gamefly, but they were still writing at the site, and it was like, what is about to happen here? So I think it was more of that indeterminacy, Greg, that probably led to that response more than you.
A few days later, I was on a conference call with the Johns and Shacknews, and the guys, I don't know who said it, but it was like, well, are we still going to get our salaries? And then there was a long pause, and they said, well, we're going to have to decrease everyone's salaries because from all the records that I saw, the site had been hemorrhaging money for 4 years or whatever. It just had not been making any money, and everyone got real comfortable.
The burn rate when I bought the site was it was like $90K a month.
We can probably get into it more during the panel itself, but that 6 month period was it was a fight for our lives for Shacknews, and we we had to make sure that the face we were putting on was like everything's fine. But like those 6 months were a struggle, man.
Well, which was funny. Speaking to that, because Ozzie, like, you know, some people were like, you know, dead silence over the phone. I'm gonna put in my 2 weeks, like, just instantly, and then like Ozzie was like, "What do I do? What can I do? What are we doing? What can I help with?" Like Ozzie was totally just like pivoting anywhere he could to like make sure, you know, the sites could stay up, because I mean, people were scared that they were going to shut the site down, right? Maybe they just wanted the branding or something.
Before we bought the site, I obviously read through it, and I was like, "There's 3 people who are carrying this site right now." It was Ozzie Mejia, Steve Watts, and Alice O'Connor. Like they were writing like 90% of the stuff on the site in December and November of 2013. So yeah, and Steve and Ozzie, like Greg, you're leaving Steve out of this. Steve also stepped up in that time period to help us with that transition.
Privately, we were all like very close at that point. It was me, Steve, and Alice. Yeah. And we were just like, okay, at this point, everybody's out. We're all in this together. We're gonna be like, you know, 3 Musketeers over here. And Alice was gonna come aboard, and then Rock Paper Shotgun came calling her, and she said she was actually ready to turn the offer down. And when she told us what it was, Steve and I were like, no, you got to go. Like, you got to go. Like, you cannot turn that down. That's too good an opportunity. Yeah, like, we're gonna be fine, but you got to do you. And you know, props to her for doing her thing for as long as she's been. And we miss you, Alice.
Greg, if you're done, I didn't want to step on your toes. I have a great Andrew Yoon story.
It was cool. It was interesting. Like, I didn't really start getting into the nitty and gritty until like 2017. I was still doing the Gamer Hub thing and producing content for the hub, even at Shacknews, because we had Joe and Andrew and them doing the video content. But it was a fun trip.
Let's get through these introductions really quickly here. You've taken up 20 minutes on intros almost. Ozzie, where did your like? How long have you been doing it for Shacknews?
I've been doing it for Shacknews since 2010. I came aboard as an intern over at GameFly, and I had actually found the job listing on Facebook of all places. I was working QA at Activision as a contract employee, and it was actually my second tour of duty there, because the first time after like a couple of years, the whole place just got laid off. Like, all the contract workers got laid off because suddenly there was some outsourcing going on. And when we got called back a second time, I knew what I was in for. I was like, this isn't going to last. So if I'm on break, I need to find something a little more permanent. So during one of my breaks, I found this Facebook job listing for GameFly where they're looking for writers. I go, okay, this is it's worth a shot. I mean, look at it. It's a paid internship. I was going back to school at that point, trying to finish up my degree. And I got interviewed, and they go, we're looking for writers for these websites that we picked up. One of them is Shacknews. One of them is a site called Shacknews. Have you heard of it? I go, I have not, because at that point I was a console gamer, so I didn't really know about like the PC side of gaming. I was mainly visiting sites like Joystick and One Up and a couple of those places. So I get hired on to help do a lot of intern stuff, move boxes, update cheat sites. Hey, kids, remember cheat codes? I had to go through the cheat site that they picked up and try to make sure all that was up to date. I was working on the little vertical called Indie Games Channel. Shout out to Jeff Mattis. Indie Games Channel was where I got my first exposure to the indie gaming scene. And it was really cool to get to work on that. And then ultimately, a little less than a year into my internship, I got brought into Shacknews, like proper. And I said, we're gonna give you your first review. You can review Hard Reset from Flying Wild Hog with the Shadow Warrior developers. Really great game. Absolutely loved it. And I've been with the site ever since. And I have a lot of firsts to talk about when it comes to Shacknews, like when it comes to exploring Chatty and exploring like the history of the site and how long it had been around. There's just so much to get into, but I don't want to eat up too much more of the intro time. So I'll just
Brian. Yeah, let's move on to Brian, aka Skankcore. How long have you been coming to Shacknews?
Shacknews probably since 2001, 2002. It's funny. Unreal Tournament is actually probably what got me going into Shacknews, just because, not directly, obviously, since it started as a Quake site. I knew Asif was going to be mad at me for saying that.
No, not mad, just shaking my head in disapproval.
You know, no, but it's just because from getting into that scene and being in a clan and, playing competitively, I got into like building my computer and visiting sites like Voodoo Extreme and Blues News and Shacknews. And Shacknews was, out of all of the sites that I was going to for, that PC centric news, Shacknews was the one that had like the community that really struck out to me. And that's what got me like just like kind of lurking in the evening reading and the morning discussion threads, and the late night consoling threads. Like I would read all of that every single day, and lurk in all of the like the big giant discussion threads. But I didn't register until 2005. But so yeah, that's how long I've been a registered user. So since 2005.
Nice. 16 years then, if I'm doing my math right.
Yeah.
Which I'm probably not, but
Oh no,
who
you
knows?
did it.
All right, Chris Jarrard. How you doing, buddy? How long you been doing it for Shacknews?
As my friend Aaron Lewis from Stain would say, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
I would say the first memories I have were of the site kind of being in my rotation, like Brian mentioned. I was hitting Sharky Extreme. I was hitting Voodoo Extreme, Blues News, and Shacknews was in that list. I had to hit for my news headlines. I had to know when my patches were ready to download for my games, like my Quakes and my Half-Lives and my Superior Unreal Tournament 99. And it is what it is. I would occasionally read the comments, not doing much. Then early 2000s, I left off the house to go to school, where I had a permanent internet connection for the first time. And I started taking more notice of the stuff that was going on in evening reading threads, stuff like that. And then mostly lurked for maybe another couple years or so, then finally made an account and started getting hella stupid. And that's pretty much the story of how I ended up here.
Nice. Well, here we are. So.
No, wait. You left out a pretty important part.
Oh yeah.
His application to write.
His application.
Yeah, your application to write for the site, Krabs.
So I was playing in these community organized multiplayer events we call Shack Battles. They occur across a variety of games. They're usually always, community stuff. Not long after the GameFly situation went down, y'all guys talked about there was some staff turnover or whatever. And oddly enough, unlike what would happen in the GameFly days, we had Shacknews staff that were outwardly willing and friendly about, participating in community events. Some present company here included. And we got to play in some games with each other and just, becoming friends the old-fashioned way. And one night I got mega wasted. I don't remember what game we were playing. Might have been a Battlefield game, not sure.
Yeah.
But I let Asif know that if there's writing needs to be done, I'm the kind of guy that can write. Even though this was not even remotely true. But I decided that, you don't need to be a writer. You just have to have the feeling and you gotta get it out. So I opened Google Docs and my microphone very late at night and under the influence, and I dictated but not read a review. I think it was the fishing game or the trucking game.
Yeah, Fishing Planet.
Fishing Planet. I dictated a review to Fishing Planet, and then I saved it in a Word document and emailed it to Asif. And I was like, you know what to do with this. And nothing much happened, I think, for a while. And then
nothing happened. Yeah.
And then a long time passed, and then you made a post in the chatty about how you guys were accepting apps.
Yeah.
And I just emailed you with nothing except for the attachment of that same whatever.
He literally emailed me the same thing again. and I was like, you're hired.
And here we
are.
Shacknews'
hell story. It really is.
It was because I forwarded the Fishing Planet review to Steve Watts, the EIC at the time, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's the drunk ramblings of a shacker about fishing."
Yeah,
which is accurate. And then
perhaps he not had the writing, but he had the voice. He definitely had the voice.
Exactly. And I know for like a hot second, you guys had you had some weird. It was like something game something dot space. I remember a website had spun up, and you were writing reviews over there.
Yeah, that's probably better left under the
Yeah.
rock that it's under now.
Yeah, whatever. I can't remember the URL, but there was like a very. It was bizarro
gamehole.space.
Gamehole.space, correct. And yeah, you had some reviews over there. But yeah, like it was obvious Chris had a voice and an opinion on games, and also like a take on technology that I don't think everyone else had. So yeah, that's Crab's origin story. Blake, how'd you get here?
Oh man, well, I had known Burkleton for a while. We had been friends and run into each other at a lot of different events, just covering random stuff. And then, I don't know, it was weird. I'd kind of, like, my career transitioned from journalist to, like, live streamer to community manager at, like, a indie video game publishing place. And unfortunately, that indie publisher was run by Majesco. So when it tanked, I was kind of like, I burnt out on the industry a little bit, and I wasn't really doing journalism anymore. I was just sort of helping broadcast live stream events at like GDC and stuff like that. And I was there helping broadcast Epic Games keynotes. And I was having dinner with a friend of mine around the corner from the convention center, the Moscone. And you and Greg walked by, and Greg introduced you as his boss, and I was like, "Cool, you should hire me."
Literally, first time I ever met him, he told me to hire him.
Yeah, and then you didn't hire me; you hired somebody else.
Did I? Yeah, I did.
Yeah. I turned in. I like turned in the resume and everything. Like I went for it. And just like it was like thanks but no thanks. And then we ran into each other again at like an EA Sports thing. And we really hit it off. And
also the person that I had hired instead of you did not work out.
Yeah,
didn't take detailed notes.
Did. But yeah, it did not work out. So we had let one person go. So that spot had reopened in the time in between we had seen each other.
So we had talked about, and then you're like, yeah, you said you regretted not giving me the job, which is always flattering. But then like a few months passed, and I was just kind of being really persistent about emailing you and stuff, and I had quit my like data entry job and like burnt the bridge. I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I need to like sort of do this again. I had been doing a little freelancing here and there, and I'm just like, okay, like I really got to find a job. And yeah, I kept hitting up Asif, and finally he was like, write a review for Ricky O. And I did, and that somehow got me the gig. And then I went from like part-time in my first month to full-time to reviews editor, and now I'm somehow co-EIC. It's a really weird trip, but I don't know. But I've been doing the video game thing for like over a decade and a half now.
Watch out, Lola. He's gunning for your job.
I am gunning for Lola's job. I'm not gonna lie. I just want to sit on David's lap and get pet all day. That is.
Hey, we were roommates in 2018, and what
I had my
happens
chance.
at the JW stays at the JW.
Rip.
We all have regrets in life, David. We all have regrets. It's okay.
I'm glad to see that Steve Gibson and I both took the application process very seriously.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, do you know who Shigeru Miyamoto is?
Ask you some questions.
This all kind of just goes to show that Shacknews really does march to the beat of our own drum. We really do things differently than literally everybody else.
Two different people have the drumsticks. They're playing different songs. The drum is being passed around. Yeah. I actually have a story about that, an Andrew Yoon story. Andrew Yoon was an excellent writer. I never got to work with him, but we were in contact talking about different opportunities. And he passed away in a freak, really tragic accident several years ago. But I loved listening to him on Weekend Confirmed. And so Ozzie, do you remember when he got addicted to, I think it was Cookie Clicker?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's stupid.
Oh, I could see he does. So
Okay.
I don't know if you were on this episode.
As fun as those episodes were, David, you should have been around for when the camera when the recording was off. Because off air, the arguments got so much more intense.
I can't even imagine, because here's a story about what happened on air. I remember occasionally Andrew would just be like, fuck this, and just play Cookie Clicker. And I remember one time Garnett Lee was like, Andrew, are you listening? Andrew goes, no. Garnett goes, what are you doing? Playing Cookie Clicker. Well, shouldn't you be participating? Well, say something interesting. And I was like, this fucking guy, that's great.
Oh my God.
Got him.
That Cookie Clicker phase, that month or so, and the arguments that sprung up from it. I still remember Jeff Kanata and Andrea Renee just going back and forth about Cookie Clicker, and also like the whole thing of like, what is a video game? And like,
yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe that ever
He had
happened.
a board game too, didn't he, Ozzie? Like the divorce game or something? Like he was making
game. Yeah.
Yes.
It funded that.
He was funny. He was ready to release it. It was really tragic how everything ended up turning out. And I still couldn't believe when I got that call. Actually, no, I found out on Twitter. I was like, no, that can't be true. I'm going to call him right now and he's going to pick up. And yeah, that didn't turn out that way, sadly.
I didn't know him nearly as well as you did, and I was just as shocked. I connected with Andrew because I think we both had very similar attitudes. Like, you do your thing, I'm over here doing my thing, and it'll all be fine. So leave me the fuck alone. Basically,
Andrew was basically over the whole video game journalism. I think he hit CIC burned him out, especially like the GameFly transition. I think that really just burnt him out on everything, and he was ready to he was touring the country at that point. He was living his best life.
It was the United States of America.
Right, the United States.
I remember that.
Yeah. And we should all be so lucky to be able to do that someday.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was a good story. I remember Weekend Confirmed.
Yeah,
that was a thing.
I was not a very good public speaker. I still am not a good public speaker. I think, Asif, you said earlier that my interview skills, like my interviewing, has improved. I don't see it personally. But, I was much worse.
We should go find some of these 2015 videos that we had, because they were not as good as what you're doing this week at E5, Ozzie. I'm just telling you, you've gotten better.
I still remember the first time I was on Weekend Confirmed, and I went on with maybe 5 minutes notice. Like, basically, Del Rio, our producer, had told me, our guest didn't make it, we're going to need you on. I go, well, when are we going on? We're going on in 5 minutes. I'm sorry, what? Like, I had never done podcasting before. I had never done, like, anything remotely, like, close to that. And I was just like, I don't even know what to talk about. It's just like, just pretend you're talking with friends. I was so nervous throughout the whole thing, and the two people who really got me through it were Jeff Kanata and Andrea Renee, which is a good reason that we're really still good friends to this day. Is they helped me get through that first episode, incident-free mostly, and I've been hopefully improving at the podcasting game ever since.
No, you did great this week, but nobody starts off good. I'm glad a lot of my stuff from when I first started doing interviews and video stuff is kind of like just sort of lost, because the first site I ever worked for used a proprietary video player. So basically, so basically a lot of like my earlier interviews are just down the toilet now.
This is some advice for younger content creators out there who may be working for other websites. Save your work.
Yeah.
On the cloud, especially. Yeah. Like, I have multiple backup locations from where my writing. I back it up every day. Yeah. Because you never know.
Yeah.
Technology sucks.
Yeah, save your work.
Yeah.
I saw this post about MySpace and how they deleted millions of hours of music.
Yep.
That are probably never going to be found.
Mm-hmm.
Not that any MySpace account was really groundbreaking or
earth-shattering,
but it's that
it's gone.
The ephemeral nature of technology when it comes to art. But Shacknews is still here. So you can find some of the worst articles ever written by Steve Gibson or Martin Goldstein, like
me.
Sometimes I go back looking for backlinks for just random things, and I'm like, wow, this is like we have like SEO standards and practices now on the site, and I look at like some of Steve's posts, I'm like, wow, it's just like one line, no image, hyperlink.
Yep.
Call it a day. I was like, wow, I aspire to be that way.
He sold that site, though.
He sold that
He
site.
got that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird how much but I mean, I think that speaks to how much the internet has also changed now since like since the beginning. You know, like there wasn't you didn't have to concern yourself with SEO or Google or anything like that. You just posted.
Our site predated Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our site predated search engines.
I would actually say that the advice Steve gave me, and he very gently in his way fired me that first time, was don't confuse quantity with quality.
Mm-hmm.
That's still really important.
Yeah. He wasn't talking
We weren't
about
able to say
No, but like I see, I got paid on a per article basis.
Oh.
I wasn't pooping them out. I thought I was doing good work, but I was also at a point where I couldn't see it. I can see it now.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see it then. So, yeah.
That's what we can all look back at our
2006 article.
You looked my article up the other day, and I was like, well, don't go look it up. Just take my word that it was bad. Don't go read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Blake talks about his early stuff being like really bad. I remember my early podcasting stuff being really bad. My hard reset interview that I mentioned, that reads awful now. I can't believe that got a green light. Like I like to think we've all grown in our own ways over the past decade or so.
Oh, go find the first CES that I met you, Greg. You know, like, you can go watch those interviews we shot together. They're some of the worst ones I've ever done.
I almost linked to a 2014 earlier interview for something. I don't remember what it was, but I almost ended up into something from there.
Yeah, 2014 CES. I meet Greg Burke. Literally it was like the day that everything officially closed on the deal for Shacknews. But yeah, it was that was something else. Because I think. Go ahead, Greg.
Vegas one year we went there, and like I think the Johns were like, we need people to like sponsor the site to make money, so like talk sponsorships. And Asif didn't know what he was doing at the time, so we were with the headphone company. It wasn't Razer, and he was just like, so yeah, sponsorships. That's what he said. That's how we started the conversation.
Yeah, let's sponsorship. And about like
That's great. Like, oh my god,
it was awkward, Greg. Look, I was like 8 years removed from the industry at that point.
Yeah.
Because like I had written for gamesindustry.biz. I wouldn't say 8, maybe it was like 3 or 4 years like where I wasn't writing at all. But I used to write for Game Daily before AOL, and then before that, yeah, like I was writing for Industry Gamers. I don't know if you remember that before gamesindustry.biz.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there were all these sites that I was writing for, and then I just stopped. And then literally 2 years later, someone's like, hey, you want to buy a website? And I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I had never, because at my time at gamesindustry.biz and Industry Gamers, I was really only writing about finance.
Mm-hmm.
I, like, wasn't reviewing games. I wasn't interviewing devs. I wasn't doing anything that Greg does, you know? Like, so it was all very new to me. And at the time I acquired the site, I didn't have any executive role at the company. I didn't own the majority of the stock. So I was just kind of sitting there, like, watching as the company, at Ozzie's point, 2014, we were, like, downward spiraling, you know, and, like, there was no real reason for what was going on. We just knew things were getting bad. And it was about figuring that out. So by the fall of 2014, the company needed more money, as they tend to do. But I upped my stake. I got above 50% at that time. I'm like, hey, guys, I'd like more say as to what's going on here, and I became CEO. And then, yeah, there was like a reshuffling of the editorial team at that time, which lasted for about 3 years. And then, yeah, in 2017, I became EIC. But yeah, it was that 2014 year, it was just like trying to figure out, like, at GamerHub, like, we knew what we were doing over there. Like, GamerHub.tv, before we acquired Shacknews, was break even. Like, we weren't losing money, we weren't making money, we're just flat. Then we take on Shaq, and it's like, what we were doing at GamerHub didn't work. It wasn't going to work at Shaq. Like, Shaq is an editorial-driven site. There's the chatty component. Like, there's all this stuff that we did not really have core competencies for at GamerHub. So then it became like working with Ozzie, working with Steve, working with people who had been around, working with the community themselves to like figure out what exactly is this. It took us, I would say, like 3 years to really figure out like our new editorial direction and how that would work with the video direction. It wasn't that we pivoted to video. It was a video, like a YouTube channel bought a website, right? And the simple idea was, well, we're going to leverage our YouTube content on this website because it has more views than our website does. On paper, that sounds very simple. The implementation of that was infinitely harder. And it, like I said, it took a while. But I think now, like the site, we have a voice and we have a pretty clear editorial direction, and we do things differently here than I think most of our competitors.
Out here in Shacknews country, things are just a little different.
That's right.
Nah, it's I love the independence of it, you know, because so much of like content is driven by a corporate entity, you know, and it's absolutely not the case here, which allows voices to be prevalent. Like, I'm just curious, like, what about the community itself, like Chris and Bryan, like, how have you watched, like, the community change and evolve over the several years you've been involved in it?
Everybody got old and started having old people problems.
Yeah,
And we still all like video games.
Just
but
search,
now our knees
search
are
for
all messed up.
vasectomy. I mean, like if you were to chart the vasectomy mentions over time.
I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to be taking a multivitamin now, but I'm not sure which ones or if some of them are dangerous. And it's getting scary out there.
I didn't take my multivitamin.
Is to get off your lawn? Because that's like the next step.
When you get as old as me, Krebs, you take like 4 multivitamins. but
you don't take them all at once.
Right? No.
I mean, to me, it's kind of the same as it was before. I mean, when I first started, it's hard to put a face and stuff with a lot of people I spoke with in the community. Although, like I mentioned before, I was fairly involved in the community game stuff. And I made a lot of good lasting friendships just because, you know, I came to play games with the people on a regular basis. And when you're having a good time with good people, it's, you know, making friends is kind of the thing that just kind of comes along naturally with it. And that's kind of the way I see the site for the most part personally, is it's the place where I made these friendships and still continue to interact with, you know, like-minded people that are generally cool in my opinion, I guess.
Has like moving from the community to like being like an employee, like what's like the how has that experience been?
My friends just continue to remind me that I'm a garbage game journalist and that I have no integrity in all the fun jokes, and I love it.
For me, I think you're a fantastic writer. Sorry, Spinker, just jump in. I just wanted to say that to Chris. I think he doesn't give himself enough credit.
He is great.
But all of us get paid for reviews.
Oh man, my apartment would be
if only
nicer and cleaner.
We'd actually give tens if we got paid.
Yeah.
I never felt like I belonged here until some guys on Twitter went after me over, I can't remember if it was a Madden review or something else, but these guys who ended up being actual Nazis, they were super pissed at me about something I wrote about Madden, and that's when I felt like I was finally a member of this gaming.
You know you made it, man.
Yeah, it was Madden, Krabs, I remember. They were definitely white supremacists. But, you know, what are you going to do? It was Twitter.
What were you
Brian, what were you saying?
I was going to say, just for me, going from chatty member to staff, it hasn't really changed much just because I still consider myself a Shacker first. You know, I've been a Shacker for so long. And so the way I interact with the community, the way I post, and the way I still, you know, do everything hasn't really changed. I don't post as much as I used to But that's not because I, transitioned to staff or anything. That's just personal life and, getting older and having responsibilities, having kids and just things to do and all of that. But no, yeah, I still post the same as I ever did, and I still interact with the chatty, and I still see the community the same way. And I'm never gonna leave. Like I've been here since 2005, and I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, you're not gonna get rid of me.
Also, I have to remind Asif that Skankcore lugged my Mario Maker 2 level in that competition, so he is clearly a man of exquisite taste.
Oh, absolutely.
But you did not.
I would point out that Skankore's actually beaten Briefcase level 8.
No, I have not beaten your latest level still.
Wait, you haven't beaten level 8?
No, Steve is still, I think, the only staff member to beat it, unless Ozzie's beaten it.
Wow.
I have not beaten it.
Yeah.
Steve
Steve is the clown.
Look, his level before that was enough, man. I was like, I'm retiring from Ozzy's levels.
I've gotten so close to beating 8, and I need to go back and do it. I know I can do it. I need to go back and do it.
The same way.
One thing I want to say about Chatty is I remember one of the intern duties that I had was, and this is going to be a blast from the past. If Chatty posters remember Eco was the guy who would occasionally drop updates from the Gamefly side on everything going on. He came to me one day and he goes, "We want to get you started on working with the community. So get to know Chatty." And I'm like, okay, how hard could this possibly be? One thing I learned about Chatty is this place has a lore, man. There's lore to Chatty like no other community I've ever seen online. To the point where I spent weeks looking at the Shaq wiki and learning some of the craziest stuff that went down, and then watching wild Shaq piles go on in real time. I was like, this place is fascinating. I love this place. And I haven't had a chance to interact with Chatty as much lately, but you really come to appreciate how close that community is and has been for decades. A lot of these guys, some of these guys have been here from the very beginning, and just it's been a wild ride.
When I bought the site, Ozzie, I was like, okay, I was looking through your articles and stuff, going through the front page, and I was like, Chatty, and the synapse deep in my brain fired off. It's oh, the comment system. Because back when I was using the site, they just called it the Shacknews comments.
I was trying to remember. I wonder if maybe Krabs or Skankcore remember, but I can't remember what people called it other than Chatty. Other than they would say first post or evening reading.
It was just the Shacknews comments.
Yeah, it was just the comments.
It was just Shacknews comments. Okay. So I was like, oh, that's the Shacknews comments. And remind you, I did not come to the site at all during the Gamefly era. I was at other websites. I just didn't even pay attention to Shacknews at that point. So I clicked on Chatty and I was like, holy shit, these people are still here. And they're talking still. And a big paradigm shift for me was that, oh, you can create your own OP now. Because it used to be only subthreads for first post and evening reading and weekend discussion. That was the only way that you could really post to it. So at some point there was this huge change in the design, and it was I was like, oh, and then I started reading it. I'm like, they're talking about all sorts of stuff here.
Yeah.
And at that moment, and this is late 2013, Chatty actually comprised a decent amount of page views, a decent amount of unique visitors. I was just like, wow. I was just surprised because I was like, this is a bonus thing you get for buying the site, right? You get the front page, you get the YouTube channels, you get the Twitch channels, you get social, whatever. But you also have this community that's been around for at the time it was 18 years. But yeah, I remember being taken back because I was like, huh, people still like this format. They like text only, threaded commenting, the threads expire. There's a lot about the Chatty that's very unique in a world where, Reddit exists. We don't have upvote mechanics. I know we have LOL, but at the time, I had no idea LOL even existed.
Yeah.
But you loved it when you found out about it.
When I found out about it, I was like, oh. And then there was
the LOL economy.
There's that whole thread about me getting ugged, and we don't have to get
Yeah, just to jump in, Asif, I just want to say a lot of shout out goes to the original designs like Jazz and Funky and all of that. That's pretty much why Shacknews Chatty is still around, because people love that format.
Yeah, what was it? Wasn't there one
Larynx?
Larynx? Yeah,
Larynx. Yeah.
I actually had another question for Krabs and Skankor. I was kind of curious. What do you think the most popular Shack battle game has been overall? Like a game that had the longest running organized. I wonder if it was like Team Fortress 2 or BF 1942.
It's got to be 1942.
Yeah,
because there's still people people still played it like this year or last year. People still get together
Source
and play
too.
it. It's not a lot, but yeah, Source Engine games had such a, like, to me, that's what I call the golden era of Shack battles, when the Source Engine was in its heyday, just because there was a huge variety of games to play and everyone was playing them.
The longest running Shack battle since I bought the site is Wreckfest.
Yeah.
And it's about to happen in like an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that has been going on for over a year straight.
Yeah.
TF2, Sundays, sure. The Thursday night Shack battles, where it was Bad Company 2, BF 1942. Those are always popular. But I feel like Chatty has always shifted from game to game. You know, like you could say that shooters are at our core. Hell, Shack Tack was born out of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's again a completely separate entity that's like designed to just be like a group of people who are like obsessed with FPS games and playing them, you know. But I feel like you can look at Chatty throughout time, and it was Quake, right? It was Unreal, it was Quake 2, it was Unreal Tournament, it was Quake 3, you know, ZT99, ZT 2004. It's every Counter-Strike. It feels like as new FPS games came out and everyone's PCs caught up, the Shack battles would move along with that. So it's hard for me to just say one game, but I definitely think TF2 or Battlefield 1942.
Yeah, like over time.
Yeah, if you were to add them up, probably the most played Shack battles. But there's still people playing Destiny together. I know that's not like as big of a Shack battle game.
We have semi-regular Quake 1. Like outside of Quake Holy, I'm talking about, is it around Christmas time? Maybe there's like a Sunday Quake thing. I don't remember who organizes it.
It was me. I took Quakemas and I turned it
Quakemas.
I turned Quakemas and turned it into the Quake Holy tournament.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we were doing that. Like I said, I came to the site mainly for Quake.
Yeah.
And then Quake 2 and Quake 3 servers. But by the time Quake 3 came out, server browsers were pretty robust.
Yeah, I was going to say, were Shack battles, whether they were called that or not, they were organized through IRC for Quake, right? Like, Yeah.
Yeah, so, and you know, the thing about IRC is you didn't have to have a persistent username, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Especially if you're engaging in some of those more, you know, less savory channels.
You were looking up butts.
No. No. I was thinking more of the other, pound wares.
I was coming off of TF2 coming into Shacknews, so I was happy to see those TF2 Shack battles every now and then.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say that TF2 was right up there. Like there was like a West Coast group, then there was an East Coast group they were all playing TF2. And that was for years.
Yeah.
So I'd say those two are probably some of the biggest ones.
I never got to participate in a Battlefield 1942 Shack battle, and I would really like to.
And shout out, and one game that I know doesn't get a lot of play these days, but I want to say shout out to Krabs for keeping Euro Truck Simulator 2 alive, because I would see the files for that every week and be like, that looks like so relaxing compared to like the other stuff that we have, and it's wholesome. I really liked what.
You clearly never looked in on a Euro Truck Simulator show.
There's nothing wholesome about that.
Maybe the commentary wasn't.
Work.
Everyone was
because I remember I was embedding a lot of Krabs' streams at the time, because we were doing Twitch highlights at the time, and I remember I was embedding a lot of Krabs' stuff, and it's like, this looks fun, but it also looks like it looks really relaxing, but at the same time, it's just a lot of shit talking too. So I really appreciate that.
There's someone on this panel who has been permanently banned from the Truck Simulator multiplayer universe for causing death and destruction inadvertently.
Is it you?
It's not me.
It's me.
It's me.
So I was.
He thought he was playing Wreckfest.
There was this guy, and he was driving head on into me, right? Like he kept crashing into my truck. So I took it into my own hands, and I was like, fine, I'm gonna drive into you. And I got banned. And there's a clip of it somewhere. But I got banned from the multiplayer. This was like 4 years ago.
Good old but he started arguments. Yes.
I just remember your late night army GTA 5 streams. I think I watched those before I worked here.
Yeah.
I was like, who's this guy? I don't know, but GTA 5 is cool because I didn't have it at that time. I think that's right.
Skankcore, you were on those streams. The No Fucks Given crew.
Yeah. Those were a lot of fun.
Those were the No Fucks Given crew at GTA.
No Fucks Given crew was really good. We had Mad Dog on that crew. So
we had Mad Dog. It was like, talk about the misfits of Chatty. We had Conan Dan, Mad Dog, Skankcore, me, and like Landros. And just like, it was just a bunch of misfits just causing trouble. And then like, I remember one time we tried to play with like the actual Shaq GTA crew, and they're like, "You guys are too fucking wild." Because like the Shaq GTA crew is like, "We're all gonna meet at this place. We're gonna show off our cars," and like, you know, they had like a plan, and then like we show up, we just start shooting everyone. Like, you guys are wild. Like, that's the way it is.
You're supposed to parade your car, Asif, not ram it into people.
It wasn't like all the fucks given. It was no fucks given. That was the name of our crew. And they were surprised by our behavior. I do miss those GTA 5 days and late night army show. But yeah, that was that was probably 2014 that you were watching those most likely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a hell of a year, but we made it.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me stories about how you came to buy the site. You said, I knew this team had hope when they gave Super Mario 3D World Game of the Year 2013. I was like, hell yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was like...
There weren't a lot of us voting on the staff that year, but I remember it got 3 first-place votes. It was Andrew, Steve, and myself. We all gave it first place.
I just remember, like, I had already bought the site, because you guys announced Game of the Year in January that year. So it was too late for me to back out of it. But like, I saw the Game of the Year and I was like, okay. I was like, okay, Shacknews. Yeah. 2013 was a weird year. Wasn't a whole lot there.
And I remember Chatty being kind of shocked by that, because what else came out that year that like?
It was The Last of Us. Everyone assumed The Last of Us.
That's right.
Yeah. To me, my 3 favorite games that year were Mario, The Last of Us, and Tomb Raider. Those were all pretty popular. And I think Ozzie, I obviously wasn't writing for the site at the time, but I'm pretty sure I was keeping an eye on you because I knew you from Weekend Confirmed in the site, but also I think you were, as you do now, kind of corralling Chatty's vote and tabulating all their votes and everything.
That was one of the first years I started doing it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, The Last of Us was like this super heavyweight.
Everyone thought that was going to win, but it was like, oh, Shacknews picked a Wii U game.
The staff doesn't typically go with the zeitgeist sometimes, because I remember 10 years ago, it was widely assumed that Skyrim was going to be Game of the Year, and I think Skyrim came in like 5th for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't remember what I think the Game of the Year 10 years ago ended up being like Walking Dead. Like, it was definitely not Skyrim.
That was 2012. That game came out in 2012. Right. If it was 2011,
Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013.
Yeah, if it was 2011, it might have been Saints Row 3 or Dark Souls.
Portal 2 came in. I remember Portal 2 came in 2nd, and I was really bummed because I fought hard for Portal 2.
Yeah.
Well, that game came out in 2011, so
that could have been.
That was the game you're thinking of.
Yeah.
What year did Asif make the Chatty Facebook comments? Because that year was great.
For April Fools? Was that April Fools?
Everyone was having like, they were like all having a good laugh, and then at like 6:30 p.m. they're like, okay, ha, change it back, and then they started getting really mad. Like, it was great.
That should have been a warning sign that I should just never be funny. Like, my sense of humor just does not apply to a forum powered by a LOL page.
Every hour after 6:30, it just got more aggressive and more edgelordy after that.
Oh, it wasn't just aggressive and edgelordy, man. There are people like threatening to kill themselves over Chatty turning into a Facebook comment thread.
To be fair, if you look at Facebook now,
but like, how low do they think of me that they really thought I was going to replace a 25 or 18, however many year old forum with one single Facebook comment thread for eternity.
Weird time.
Like they really thought that. Like they thought that I was gonna do that. They thought I was gonna do that, and everyone who had ever worked for the site found it hilarious.
Yep.
You know, Martin, Steve, I remember Zav lolling it. Like everyone thought it was great. Who had worked here? Kiefer thought it was hilarious, but boy, that community didn't find it hilarious.
Nobody puts Chatty in a corner.
I know that the pandemic is the main reason, but I like to think that a little bit of that is part of the reason that we just look at April Fools and we're like, you know what, we're just taking the day off.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's no one-upping
days.
that. First of all, there's no one-upping that.
Yeah.
That is the funniest thing I can do to the chat.
There's an April Fool's joke that's been discussed since I came back 5 years ago that we have yet to do. I'm not going to say it here because we might, it's still an ace up the sleeve, but I think it would be good.
Well, you do it.
I'll do it next year.
You do it. Let them tell you for what.
Yeah.
So we got about 10 minutes left on the panel. Before we wrap it up, I kind of want to know. Shacknews has been around for 25 years now. Where are we going in the? Not necessarily the whole next 25 years, God, but what's the future of Shacknews?
Lola, do you want me to take this? Because I don't know what you're doing.
She's got things
the Luminary.
Lola,
yeah,
she's very busy.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you, don't bother her.
I'll just say this.
Yeah.
Last year, we probably launched the biggest change to the website ever with Cortex, and a user-generated content platform. Powered by Shackers for Shackers. We launched Reader this year, which is an RSS reader that can ingest podcasts, YouTube channels, articles, anything into there. What I would say is that when we launched Cortex last year, it wasn't the full vision that I had for the site. It's incomplete. And the hint I'll give folks is that the site is now gamified. Every day we declare a winner. Every week we declare a winner. Every month we declare a winner. Every year we declare a winner. And right now, there's a certain amount of categories that you can get points for. Getting points for reading an article, for posting an article on Cortex, for posting a thread in Chatty, for posting replies to threads, for tagging threads. You get points for all of that. Just say there's going to be more points. There's going to be more ways to get points than there are now. I view Cortex not just as a user-generated content platform. I view it as a gamification platform, which means that probably something else there. So I would point to Cortex and the gamification of the site as a hint as to where the future lies. Outside of that, I think our editorial vision is pretty much intact. We're one of the best websites on earth to find guides. We still cover breaking news. We've expanded our coverage universe into toys, space exploration, electric vehicles, stuff like that, which I still kind of think fits in our vibe, right? Sure. It's things that our users are already interested in.
The chatties are talking.
Yeah, if the chatties talking about like cryptocurrency, all those things, we're going to keep talking about that. From an esports perspective, like Shacknews puts on some really cool events when we do get back to putting on live events. So I do think live events are in our future again. Maybe not being on the show floor of E3 per se, but having a hotel ballroom next to E3 and doing something there that doesn't cost $20,000 for internet. Stuff like that, I think is possible. But yeah, I think that if I had to just sum it into like one thing, I think that Shacknews can continue to grow at a time where there's not a whole lot of sites of our size left. There's a lot of smaller outlets, and then there's a lot of way bigger outlets. Like there's IGN, there's Polygon, there's GameSpot, there's Game Informer. Like they're not going away. There's not many independent sites of our size left. And I think that we can continue to grow. With doing stuff like E5, I think is an example of that. Like we don't, and we're doing our jobs all summer too, but like we're not beholden to the industry as much as I think a smaller entity would be. And we have the liquidity to take risks that I don't think smaller companies would be able to do. And I don't think the larger companies are willing to take those risks, because at this point they're just like, they're really just trying to make money off of these things, and like they're trying to figure out how best to monetize their sites. And you know, if you're a 50 million unique visitor website, it's pretty hard to grow. Or not. So I think we have a long runway ahead of us when it comes to growing, you know, and it's not just the website, right? We have YouTube channels that are growing. We have our Twitch channel, which has been growing. And like I said, there's events, and then there's this other thing out there that is like Shacknews as a platform that expands beyond the website. And hopefully soon you'll hear more about that. But I don't want to give anything away. We don't talk about future projects.
Future
That's
David.
from Lola.
Yeah.
Yes.
Future David.
Yes.
What is the future?
For me, I will still just be writing long reads for as long as Asif will have me. I really enjoy writing those. I think they bring something unique to gaming editorial. The irony of the internet is that most websites have an infinite page count, except for the time when I wrote a long read that was too big and it broke the site and we had to increase.
We had to re-engineer our website because of that was
Stairway to Badass.
Is that Stairway to Badass?
Yeah, the Doom.
Okay.
Doom 2016.
I thought it was maybe. Oh no, yeah.
I think what they did is they made it so big that I'm still trying to like break it again. I'll get there eventually. But yeah, you know, the irony is you technically have an infinite page count, but a lot of people don't really utilize it. And I think what we do with long reads is like give something that each chapter is almost an article in, you know, one in a series of articles you can read at your leisure. Subscribers, I know subscribers are kind of in flux, but you can you know, download ebooks. So I think it's you know, we also publish the books. Some of them are in print. You can find them in stores and on Amazon. But I think what we do with long reads is pretty cool, and just one of many components of Shacknews. So that's what I'll be working on. Got one for later this year, in fact.
Yeah. Just stay tuned to shacknews.com to find out more about that. In the meantime, Greg Burke, dude, like, you've already been, you know, integrating a lot of new stuff. Like, we've been doing toy unboxings and things like that. But what do you think what's the future of Shacknews for Greg Burke?
What I'd like to see is just people realizing that we're like a team of people, you know, like making content, making game stuff, and just writing stuff, and realizing that like we get a newer, younger community in as well, like just to show us that we exist and we're people too. Like in my opinion, and I'll say it, I think our team is a lot funnier and like more creative than like a lot of the top tier sites, just because like we can like lean back and be like, hey Asif, hey Blake, can we try this? And it's like, yeah, sure. And we just get to try stuff, and you can't do that with those bigger sites. And I feel like there's a lot of personality and humor on this team, and I want people to see that, you know, and reach out and start to develop like a community around the staff that works there, you know, not just the old community, but a new community as well. You know, that's what I would like to see in the next 25 years.
Yeah, and now that he has a check mark.
Yeah, and I'm better than all of you.
Endless.
All of you.
As an influencer, you should be able to get people to do that, Greg.
Yeah, get us the internet money.
Yeah. Ozzie?
I've said it many times before. We're the outsiders. We're the renegades. And we're going to keep doing things our way from going forward. And we're excited to bring you more stuff at Shacknews. There's a whole summer of doing our jobs ahead. I'm teaming up with Greg for a lot of interviews, so look for that over the next few months. Just keep watching us, man. You're in for...
Ozzie, you talk about being a renegade, and I gotta say, you have always given off this Lorenzo Lamas energy. So
I always open myself up to that every time I say that.
Also the leather and the scarves.
It's probably not going to stop either.
Yeah, or also Pee Wee Herman, because you're a loner, Dottie, a rebel.
They're going to say just hair.
Oh man, no, you don't have Pee Wee Herman hair. You're a beautiful, handsome man, Ozzie, and we're so glad to have you on board. And really quickly, before I move on, you know, you talked about the interviews that you're going to be doing, but you guys were basically tag teaming most of the interviews that we're seeing during E5. You know, me, I was just the guy like begging and pleading over emails for people to give us content. No, that makes it sound like we were
doing that too.
Yeah, you were doing that. Man, but yeah, good job. Good job on all the coverage, guys. Just wanted to give you a quick shout out. Brian, what's the future?
Future of Shack News, I guess, is all those vasectomy threads are going to turn into incontinence threads. But no, seriously,
Getting older, man. Dad Shack is going strong.
For me, no, I just want to keep doing it for Shack News. You know, I mean, I became staff shortly after getting that Do It for Shack News award, which completely floored me. I had no idea that was coming. You know, I just wanted to, you know, make cool content for you guys and, you know, be on the Twitch channel and everything and turn that into what I'm doing now. And I just want to keep going forward with that. Maybe do more Twitch content. I have, you know, more ideas for different Twitch shows in the works. So yeah, just stay tuned to Shack News Twitch, and we'll keep doing great stuff.
Nice. Krabs?
For the future, I'd like to keep working on improving my writing and sharpening my skill set, improving, and hopefully before we reach the 50th anniversary, I'll be good enough for Ozzie to notice me.
One day, getting noticed by Ozzie is definitely, it's basically like getting a blessing from the Pope.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
Senpai, please notice Krabs.
Well, like we had like live event achievements, and like one of them was high fiving Ozzie, and like
the very few of the chatty posters have actually gotten to actually high five me, and it's funny that we say that because I'm actually looking at this old picture of me and Sparkly from like, oh man, I don't even remember what year this was. This was from like E3 2014 or something like. But he had a tank full of babes for a World of Tanks, and I was like, he was like, "Oh, I'm a chatty poster. Like, you know, come say hi. Like, come take a picture with me. Like, it's a cool dude." So,
nice.
Shout outs, man.
You made his year.
All right. Well, I think like before we all join the singularity, and Shack News is just part of one massive consciousness that we're all a part of. I don't know. It's been really interesting, like how going from a role of just constantly churning out content to more like facilitating a lot of content. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but there was a lot of planning and like moving stuff around and getting stuff ready for stuff like E5 and things like that. And it's cool to kind of be able to help people coming in that are part of Shack News to kind of like hone their skills and like help them on their own paths and stuff like that. But I think the future of Shack News is strong, frankly. I mean, in the time I've been here, I've seen us get like more and more trailer accolade, like, you know, things, and just like I've done my best to kind of connect us more to people in the industry, and I feel like those connections are now growing stronger and even expanding beyond just being like somebody that I'm directly contacting, and now it's like people are reaching out to Shack News as a whole.
Yeah, like,
you know,
a good example of just the growth that our site has had as a brand is we got exclusive Sonic gameplay for E5, you know, from Sega, you know, and that didn't just happen this year. That's years of building relationships with different developers by being trustworthy. And I think, Blake, you can echo this. A lot of PR folks say we're easy to work with.
Yeah, I get that a lot. And it's flattering. Like, it's super flattering.
And I think that has a lot to do with why we're growing, is that we are not insufferable influencer asshats. And we have a sense of professionalism. We're not going to leak your shit just for a couple more views. You know, like that's not our style. So I think in a world where a lot of marketing spend is going towards influencers, some folks find us refreshing because we don't have our hands out. We just want to make content with them. And I think that message is resonating with people.
Yeah. And with that, I think that's a great place to call it a day, gang. I'd like to thank you all for joining our live panel for the Shack News 25th anniversary. We've got more E5 content coming up, but yes, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Ozzie. Thank you, Greg. Was it? I think yes. Thank you, David. Thank you, Asif, and thank you, Lola. Don't go anywhere though. We've got like a couple more things lined up for you. We've got to look at Rune Factory 4 and 5, and then after that we got a Summer Games Done Quick interview that Ozzie conducted, right?
Yeah, very much so. I'm so stoked for that this year, and I'm excited for everyone to see the interview as well.
All right. Well, then shut up and let's get to these interviews. Guys, stick around. Not only do we have more E5 coming up now, we got more E5 coming up the next 2 days, and then, of course, the stimulus games on Saturday. So make sure that you've hit that follow button or that sub button and gave us some of that sweet, sweet Bezos bucks. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.